Hi there and welcome to another episode of Messy Magic. I'm your host, Dee Guy, and I'm recording this episode on Monday the 20th of December, which means that it's day 20 of PODMAS, my mini-series of episodes leading up to Christmas. As to whether I get this published on the 20th of December, I'm not sure, for reasons that will become revealed as I speak through this episode. And this episode is all about the lessons I learned from my 2 trips to hospital yesterday. And I think I'm not even going to give you an intro. I'm just going to launch right into the lessons, and you'll see what I mean as we go. Before I do that, though, just a little kind of to lay the foundation for anyone who might happen to be new to the podcast as of this episode. This podcast is about everyday life, and the way that I record these episodes is very much off the cuff, straight into my phone, usually when inspiration strikes, and it's all about finding the magic amongst the mess of our lives, because everyone's lives are messy in some form or another. But I also deeply believe that there's magic to be found in every mess. Sometimes you have to look a little bit harder than at other times, but life is such a gift, and I do think that there's magic to be found every day. So, without further ado, here are the lessons that I learned from my 2 trips to hospital yesterday. Number 1 is if the instructions on the box say wear safety goggles, wear safety goggles. So this is where I tell you what happened yesterday. And basically I was at home with my 4-year-old. We were doing an experiment. It's like a volcano experiment. So you may have seen or done this experiment at some stage during your life or with your kids, where you build a volcano, and this all came out of a box. So like the plaster came out of the box, the bottle, the tube, all the bits and pieces, and the safety goggles, might I add. So we were building this volcano experiment where you make a volcano out of plaster, out of the box. You put a tube up through the center of the volcano so that it just pokes through the top. You put baking soda around the top of the volcano, around the tube, and some like little pebbles that come in the box too. Then you connect the tube to a squeezy bottle that has vinegar in it with a few drops of liquid soap. And then you squeeze the bottle gently, and the vinegar comes up through the tube, through the top of the volcano, and mixes with the baking soda, and it makes this beautiful bubble and foam, and it looks like a mini volcano, and kids love it. And we had lots of fun, and this is the second time we've used this particular experiment, the very same one, and we were right at the end. We were like on our last squeeze of the bottle, and by some freak of coincidence, my little one had the bottle. He was wearing the safety goggles, by the way. I happened to put my head over the volcano as he was squeezing it, and he squeezed it quite hard. And the vinegar shot up through the volcano straight into the middle of my left eye. And so, as you might imagine, what came next was a lot of screaming, a lot of running around the house with a burning eye. And I, flushed my eye with water. Obviously, the first thing I did was make sure my little one was safe. And after that, I couldn't really tell you much about what he did. I knew he was okay. I knew he was watching me, but I was in so much pain. And anyway, long story short, my husband came home from where he was, picked us up. We went to hospital. I had my eye flushed with saline solution. They checked it out, and then they phoned a local eye specialist who is from another town, which is an hour's drive away, and he wanted to see me last night. So we arranged for my mother-in-law and her partner to come over and look after our son while my husband and I drove an hour to the hospital, saw the specialist there, got some eye drops, got some reassurance, got some painkiller, and came back home. So the lesson is, if the instructions say to wear eye goggles, then everybody involved in the experiment should probably be wearing the eye goggles. We didn't have 2 pairs. I probably could have found another pair in the house somewhere if I'd looked, but I didn't. So let this be a warning to everybody. Take precautions, take instructions seriously, because I know that we don't always do that as parents. Okay, I just had to pause there for a second while I dabbed at my eye, which is currently very swollen, very sore, doesn't want to open, and is like being inundated with medication. But I'm fine. I'm doing good. Kiddo is at preschool today, and I'm resting, and it will all be fine. I'm going back to the specialist on Thursday, and he's confident that there won't be any long-term damage. So in the meantime, I'm just doing everything I'm told and trying to look after it as much as possible. The second lesson that I learned from my ordeal yesterday was to offer support to someone who needs it. And it could be the tiniest offer of support, or it could be something significant. And the reason that I say that's a lesson is that I received support yesterday and it was so appreciated. Like, I am so grateful for the support that I received, and I want to make sure that, I offer that to people who might be in a similar situation. So everything from my husband taking care of our little one to my mother-in-law and her partner coming. They had to drive an hour to get here to look after him while we drove to the second hospital, to the nursing and medical staff who were all very kind, to even like my my very kind copywriting client who found out today in the course of our conversation what had happened and was quite compassionate. There's so many different levels of support that you can offer someone, and speaking from experience from the last 24 hours, it means so much to receive that support. And even like phone calls, I've had 2 phone calls from family members today to check in on me and see how I'm doing, and it just means so much. And so that's a lesson that I've learned as well, is to make sure that I'm offering support to people that need it, even if they don't seem like they need it. I think it's always good to offer that level of support, whatever you can offer. The third lesson was just that we are all human, and we all have our different human experiences. And when I was in the emergency waiting area of the second hospital, there were so many people. They were very busy, and there were so many people there. And I just felt this immense presence of humanity. Like, there were obviously quite a number of sick people or injured people in the waiting room. There was quite a few kids there, but there were also their carers. My husband was there. Other people's partners and carers were there. The nursing staff, the doctors. It was just this kind of intense, experience of humanity, and a very real reminder that we are all human and we all have our human experiences. And I did a really good meditation that I highly recommend if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like the humans around you could do with some compassion. And now obviously I couldn't really use my eyes, so I was kind of sitting there with my eyes closed. And so it was a really nice opportunity to do a meditation. And I just did this really simple breathing exercise of breathing in. And as I breathed in, I was imagining that I was breathing in peace and serenity for myself. And as I was breathing out, I was breathing out with love and healing for everybody in the room around me, every human person in the room around me. And it was a really centering, really calming experience for me. It took my mind off the pain that I was feeling, and it also helped me feel connected to everybody around me. It was really, really lovely. Highly recommend. Very simple, very easy meditation to do. And the fourth, I can't even count today. The fourth lesson is that it can always be better, but it can also always be worse, I think. And this might be a bit controversial because I know that there are some awful situations in the world. But I think sometimes we can be self-centered and kind of look at our situation as terrible. And I had moments yesterday when I felt sorry for myself. But then it could also have been so much worse than it was. And there is always something to be grateful for. And so even when we're in pain, even when we're having discomfort, even when we're doing something we don't want to be doing, there's always something that we can find to be grateful for, I think. And that might be, I know that's easy for me to say, because, as I said, it could have been so much worse. And I'm sure there are situations where it's incredibly difficult to find something to be grateful for. And I'm not dishonouring those scenarios. But I do encourage all of us to look for something to be grateful for when we feel like, things are not going well. So yeah, those are my 4 lessons. I hope that some of this is landing. I hope that you're picking up something from it that is valuable to you and your life. If you feel like it might be worthwhile sharing this episode with a friend or a family member, please feel free to go ahead and do that. I'd be so honoured to think people were sharing my episodes with any of their loved ones. As I said at the start, I am not really sure when I'll be publishing this. I'll aim to publish it today, but with my eye the way it is, it's not easy to look at the computer and do everything that needs to be done to publish episodes. So I may end up publishing a whole bunch of episodes on the same day. We shall see, but hopefully I'll be back with you again tomorrow for another episode of Messy Magic. And in the meantime, I hope you have a magical day.